Hello, everyone. Welcome to Living and Learning. This is where I jump on Facebook Live and talk about living and learning. My name's Allison Kinnear, and I'm on here every Wednesday at 3 p.m. And it is May, and in May we are talking about work-life harmony. That's what we're focusing on for the month of May. And let's see, last week we talked about boundaries and work-life harmony. The week before we talked about fear of missing out, FOMO, and work-life harmony. And today I'm kind of continuing on that theme. And we're going to talk about saying no and how that relates to work-life harmony. Hello, Margaret. Hello, Allie. Thanks for jumping on. So let's just dive into this. First of all, I want to talk about who this talk is not for. There are some people who lead with no. There are some people who, I posted a video of Christina Applegate in the new Netflix show she's on, and it's just of her saying no, 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 no. For some people, saying no. Oh, hi, Tammy. Hey. Good to see you on here. I'm so grateful when people comment because then I know who's here. And hello, Serena. Everyone's popping on. Yes. So for those of you who saying no is easy, you know, some people it's just not an issue. There's a really great book called The Book of Yes by Shonda Rhimes, which I would recommend because for some people saying no is their default. That is not who today's talk is for. Today's talk is for those of us who saying yes is our default. Oh, hello, Charlene. Hello, Jenny. Oh, this is so exciting. Everyone's popping on. So today we are going to be talking about saying no, not for the people who have no problem saying no. And hello, Serena. Yes. Hello. But for those of you who tend to say yes, for those of you who tend to, when something comes up where there's a need somewhere, you tend to say, yes, I'll take that on, or going along to get along, let's all do this. Oh, okay, and you just say yes to it. That's who this talk is for. So for all of you who have mastered the art of saying no, you can still stick around and hear what it's like for the rest of us who tend to default into saying yes. And saying no is really about it's really about setting boundaries. For those of us who struggle with saying no, we can have a little anxiety build up, a little flutter in the heart, a little concern around who's going to, what the response is going to be, if it's going to be okay or if it's going to cause a disruption. And so we can tend to say yes to things that we don't actually want to say yes to. And I'm already seeing this. Allie, yes, I am that yes girl completely. Lauren, hello. Yep, I've been working on this for years. It can be really challenging when our default is to say yes. So I had an experience just this past week where, I just taught a class at Seattle Life Coach Training. Hello, Charlene, you were there for that. And my boss, Richard, who runs the school, called me just a day or two ago and said, hey, I'd love to debrief on the class. Is now a good time? And in the moment, I was kind of elbows deep in some pretty deep work that I was in. Now, my default would have been to have said, yes, and just dropped my work. Richard needs me. And so I'm going to say no to my work, and I'm going to say yes to him because he's my supervisor, my boss. So I'm just going to drop everything and say yes. And in that moment, I said, well, I would love to say yes to you. That's what I want to say. I want to say yes to you. But I'm really deep in some work, and so I'm afraid it's going to be a no. And he said, not a problem. Let's reschedule or let's schedule something, not reschedule because we didn't have anything scheduled. And so we've got an appointment set up where we can say, where we can meet. And I'm not giving up and I'm not sacrificing my flow in my work like I did for years. I would have people come in to the office and ask me questions and things like that. And I really wanted to be available to them. So I would drop everything I did and, it's like stopping everything I'm doing, starting to focus on what they're here for, noodling or talking about the situation that they're in, trying to figure out, provide answers, be able to have a conversation, stop what's happening there, and then refocusing on the stuff that I'm supposed to be doing, the work that I'm supposed to be doing. That is quite a process. And, there's all this scientific studies that talk about the lag time that happens when we're multitasking like that, when we're switching back and forth from one activity to another. It can really cause a lag. And so what happens is that it's really easy to say no to my stuff because it's me and say yes to other people. But then we find ourselves overcommitted, anxious, maybe a little resentful, and completely exhausted. So we have to pause in the moment and check in with ourselves. Is this a yes? Like, is this actually a yes? And to take a moment for that, or to even create space and say, I really want to say yes here, but I really need to pause and think about it. Can I get back to you? And to circle back, because even sitting with the question of, do I want this or do I not, can be a new question for those of us who struggle and always say yes to things. I want to note some of the comments because I'm seeing this thing popping. Thank you for the compliment, Tammy. Yes, when you want to say no, but you end up saying yes, it can be really hard. Lauren, I can't wait to feel great about saying no. I've learned to say no, but I still feel bad. Oh gosh, it is so true. That whole great way of saying no, I've really come, I struggle sometimes with saying no, and it's one thing to say no the first time, but then to go through that awkward phase where maybe other people haven't jumped in to say yes, and it's kind of like the tension is there. It can be really easy to be like, well, maybe I can, and to step in, right? Or we say no the first time, but the second time maybe we give in and say yes, and then we end up in the same world that we were trying to avoid being in. But to be able to say, I really want to say yes. I know maybe you're used to me saying yes, or I know I have a tendency to say yes, but I'm really working on checking in with myself, and I have to say it's a no. Is a way that I feel like can honor myself and also really honor the no. And part of it is practice. And, it's interesting because our fears around what's going to happen when we say no is oftentimes not the case. I have several clients right now who are practicing saying no. And the thing that they're always worried about is that there's going to be some backlash. Do you want Chinese food tonight? No. And they're sitting there like, no. And it's like, oh, okay, well, what do you want? It's like, usually there's not, it doesn't skip a beat when somebody says no. It's our stuff. It's our issues. And really, in all honesty, part of it probably comes from when we were little and we were in our 2s phase and our 3s phase and saying no. And sometimes in some families, saying no as a 2-year-old or as a 3-year-old was just not allowed. And life got really big and scary when we did say no. So us saying yes as a default can just be a coping mechanism left over from that. So this week, I invite you to say no more often and just to practice it, just to try it out. Because when we say no, it can really help us have more work-life harmony. When we set those boundaries and we maintain those boundaries, it can help us have more space and more room for what it is that we do want, which we will talk about next week. Let's see. Do you mean it isn't the end of the world when we say no? Yes, Tammy, I do mean that. And sometimes people are used to us saying yes, so it might catch them off guard. And it's, you know, it can be, you know, you're changing the dance, you're changing the relationship a little bit when the yes person says no. Uh, but that's okay. And yes, it might feel awkward. Yes, it might feel a little like heart pounding, heart fluttering. Uh, but if you breathe through it and you just kind of let that tension sit there, it will pass. It will pass. I recently said no for me, but do what you like. Yes, Charlene. Yeah, you can say it's a no for me, but feel free to do what you want. And yes, it can, thank you, Allie, it can totally feel like the end of the world is about to happen. But I encourage you, do a little homework and share what it's like to say no. You know, go out into the world and try it on safe people for you, safe people in your life, the people you trust, the people you know who will more than likely be an okay population for you to practice saying no. Just try it and see what happens. You know, do a little experimentation, play with it a little bit. Anyway, thank you all so much for tuning in. I am so excited to be delivering these every week. I am gathering testimonials now, especially from those of you who have seen me talk, who have attended any of my workshops or talks. I really would love your testimonials. I'm gathering them so I can share my work with a broader audience and continue to send messages around women and work and worthiness, and I would appreciate the help that you may have to offer. Even if it is watching me every week, I would still love to hear any testimonials and how it's impacting your lives. And if you want to share how saying no is going for you in a little 1-week challenge of saying no, write it, post it on my page at Voice of Our Own, and I look forward to hearing how no's land in your life. All right, take care. I will see you next week. Wishing you a full week of living and learning. Take care. Bye.